Moving on to agenda item number 28, Nevada Department of Wildlife License Simplification Strategy Update. Game Division Administrator Brian Wakeling for possible action. The department has conducted substantial data analysis and public input since the effort to simplify hunting and angling license structures was initiated about 1 year ago. The department will provide an overview of the information obtained to date, along with the suggestions for bundled privileges and fees. The commission may vote to support the department's license structure proposal. Mr. Wakeling.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This is an item that we shared with the commission at the CAB workshop at our last meeting. We did want to specifically request that the commission provide an endorsement of this. And so what I wanted to do was run through that presentation and with a little bit of added detail and explain why there's a little less detail in some other areas. Since the time that we shared our considerations, and the department is truly just trying to provide the considerations as we formalize our bill drafts. When we did that, since the meeting that we held in August and this meeting, we had to transmit that information to the budget division for consideration. Consequently, we were advised, we were provided 3 specific bullets, and this is verbatim from the advice we were provided. Our agency request is confidential until the budget division provides that to the LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. That's going to occur on or before October 15th. At that point, it changes from what's called AO1 to the governor's recommends, which is a GO1. And at that point, it still remains confidential. And essentially, until the governor's office, the following two bullets identify this, until the governor chooses to disclose the details of our recommendations, it's confidential. And this was the advice that was provided to us specifically from the budget division. And to embrace the spirit of this, we have not provided any additional detail associated with our license simplification. However, we do feel it's appropriate because we certainly want to receive the endorsement of the commission for the considerations that we developed over the course of the year. I wanted to go through the presentation one additional time and ask the commission, the department would ask the commission that they would endorse that. So, as I mentioned, this is essentially a year-long process. We initiated that effort a little over a year ago. We engaged an outside company that deals with human dimensions, and we engaged in what was first a comparative process, and I'm going to go through the details of that a little bit. That occurred last fall. We engaged then into a qualitative analysis through the winter, on into the quantitative session, which we started last spring. The financial analysis that we shared, we didn't even initiate that until we completed all the other aspects of it. But our goal in going through that financial analysis was to keep the revenue as close to neutral as we possibly could, trying to look at how hunters and anglers currently purchase licenses and assuming that there would be no change. We have shared this with the commission and the public. This is the 4th time, at least a minimum of 4th time that we've had this before the commission. We've gone to the public 3 separate times, and the last one was a series of 5 town hall meetings that we held in July. And again, we're hoping that the commission may choose to endorse this concept. This is, from this point forward, it will be exactly as we've shown to the commission at the CAB workshop and the public town hall meetings. And I did change the title of this, but improved customer service is our objective. Want to deliver value, ease confusion, reduce mistakes, and make it easier for our customers to engage. The question we immediately got out of the chute on every one of these is, gosh, is this just an opportunity for you guys to make more money? Our goal was to remain revenue neutral. It's difficult to model exactly what's going to happen, because if we truly do deliver more value, what we're going to see is people respond to that, and so we may have changes in behavior that may make our modeling efforts less effective. But based on the calculations that we have to date, the revenue generated from the licenses that we're discussing totals about just a little less than $7 million. If no change to purchasing behavior, if people buy the same type of license that they've bought in the past, we will see about 0.2% increase in revenue. That's less than $15,000. The reason we even initiated this is just looking at the number of licenses that we currently have. Right now, on the right you see some stamps, you also see tags. Those tags, we're not touching the tags, we're not touching application fees. What we're talking about is hunting licenses, fishing licenses, combination licenses, and the associated stamps. We look at those, they're somewhere in the neighborhood of 27, and what we've tried to do is reduce those to about 7. When we look at the states surrounding us, and this was an analysis we asked Chase & Chase to investigate for us, looking at their license structures. Nevada has changed. The last time we changed anything was in 2004. It's been 20 years since anything we've seen one change in 20 years. And so everybody's addressed this more recently than Nevada did. The most recent was Idaho. The others have all done it in the last 2 or 3 years. We engaged in a qualitative analysis. Our effort here was to look at focus groups. We picked 6 cities. Again, looking specifically at licensed anglers and hunters. We wanted to identify issues, concerns, specific items that they brought to the table. The reason we call this a qualitative analysis is that this is a very effective way at identifying the range of considerations that the public may have, but it does not do a very good job of telling you what proportion of people feel in a particular direction. It's like holding a town hall meeting or even a commission meeting. You'll get people who are vested, want to show up, but you don't get the depth of perspective. You get the range. To get that depth of perspective, we then use the same analysis or same company to help us analyze things quantitatively. We sent out a survey, and the survey was conducted by telephone. We contacted approximately right around 1,700 individuals and spoke to them using specific questions to gauge the proportion and the strength of opinion on issues that had been identified through the prior process. It's a statistically valid sampling design, and this tells you how concepts regarding license simplification really resonate. So based on that, what we developed was a structure for what we think that would optimize our license structure. It includes the relevant stamps and privileges. It limits the number of special ones, and it combines licenses with similar privileges. So if we go out, and it also would limit the number of times that people would make inadvertent mistakes. If you're out there, you have a hunting license, you're good to hunt. If you're out there with a fishing license, you can fish. So essentially what this looks like, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with this particular slide than what I'm going into in the others, but essentially we've used the same type of analysis on all of these. If you look at a hunting license, currently we spend $33 if you just buy the hunting license. But if you hunt upland game, you also have to buy a $10 stamp. And if you hunt ducks, you've got to buy another $10 stamp. Winds up costing you $53. Even if you only buy one stamp, it costs you $43. And so if you upland hunt at all, this will save you money. We're suggesting the price should be somewhere around $40. The average hunter spent $37.83 in 2016. And so if you just buy a license so you can apply for big game, this would cost you more, but only $7 more. And on average, it's $2.17 more than what the average hunter spent. We're proposing eliminating a non-resident hunting license. We'll get into that with the combination and talk about some of the rationale for doing so when we get to that one. Looking at resident fishing, again, the average angler in 2016 spent $39.64. The suggested price, what we're talking about going to, is $40. If you talk about all the fees for the trout stamp, the second rod stamp, and special use stamp, if you buy all those, you wind up with a savings. If you only buy a few, it's still the average angler spends just about less than $1 more. One-day fishing license, we'll keep it the same. We're not recommending any change there. No change to the price, $9 and $3 for each consecutive one. I failed to mention this on the hunting, but I just noticed this on the fishing. All of these licenses we're recommending considering a 365-day license. So if you were to purchase a license, one of the common comments we've heard is, gosh, I buy it in the fall and I just feel like I don't get the value out of my license. And so what we want to do is ensure that that if you do buy one of these, you do get 365 days, you get the full value of the license that you buy. In a leap year, you get a bonus day. You get 366 days. But we also, one of the considerations that Chase and Chase pointed out to us, that if we do this, we have to ensure that, because the hunters in Nevada pointed out, they don't want people to be able to game the system. They don't want to be able to buy one license and be able to apply 2 years in a row. And so there's ways that we can address that, requiring that they have to have a license on the last day that the draw is open or something of that nature. Non-resident fishing. The average angler currently spends $78.06, rounding it up to $80. One-day fishing, no change looking at that. There's also a Boundary Waters fishing license. And this is one that people can acquire if they want to fish only on Lake Mead, or they can acquire if they only want to fish on Lake Tahoe or one of the interstate boundary waters. Has to be an actual lake. This we're recommending that it be increased from $29 to $30, make it kind of a round number. Oops. Okay, a combination, the resident package. If we take that, currently it's running around $54. If you round up with, you take a look at if anybody that buys a combination, buys a trout stamp, buys an upland game stamp, you're at $74. $1 more, we're suggesting it being $75. It's $5 less than what a hunting and angling license would be independently. The average sportsman in 2016 spent $72.69. So again, we're not looking at a dramatic increase in what people are spending on average. We're looking at this as, again, pretty doggone close to revenue neutral. Now, this is kind of where it gets into a little bit of the creative math. Looking at a non-resident package. Currently, a combo license for a non-resident is $199. If a non-resident buys a hunting license, it's $142. What we're recommending is that we adjust this price to $155. If we do that, and a non-resident hunter has to buy a combination license, we've actually got 18,403 non-resident license buyers last year, and we had 408 combination license. It's $44 cheaper than the existing combination license, but we expect to see a dramatic increase in the number of people who actually buy this. The other real benefit to the agency is that all of these dollars or all of these licenses play a role in our ability to access federal grants. And so for every license we can certify as being a hunter and an angler, this would give us access to about 18,000 greater angling licenses that we could use to access the Wallop Bro and Dingle Johnson, primarily Dingle Johnson federal grants. And we still have to come up with the dollars to match it, but it gives us access to a larger slice of the pie. We currently have a non-resident hunting license. We don't have a non-resident combo package. And so we're suggesting that we have a non-resident package for combination, and we're suggesting that price be $23. The hunting license is $21, so we'll get an extra $2, $8 for each consecutive day, which is no change. Another change that we're recommending is looking at youth. And for the youth, what we're talking about is ages 12 through 17. So this would do away with the pre-adult package. This would truly be a youth package, 12 through 17. And it would also be the same for residents and non-residents. This does not give non-residents access to the resident-only youth hunts, but it would allow them to apply for hunts and still maintain our ability to draw those individuals in. They still have to pay a non-resident fee for any of the non-resident tags that they might draw. If the youth had not completed hunter education, regardless of whether or not they're a resident or a non-resident, that is only eligible for fishing until the time that they complete a hunter education certification. We're recommending this price be $15. We're also looking at another $15 package, and this would be the elite package. This would include all of our senior disabled military, either stationed in Nevada or a Nevada resident stationed elsewhere, a Native American, any of those special classes. One fee, $15, and it would all be a combo license, just like the youth. One license, you buy it, you can hunt, you can fish, you can hunt upland game, you can, we have no ability to regulate the federal duck stamp, but no state duck stamp would be necessary, no second rod stamp, no special use stamp, and generate basically a tremendous savings to most of the individuals involved in this. Feedback that we've received, we held open houses in July, like I mentioned. We had a moderate turnout on most of them. However, we only got 2 pieces of feedback. One individual expressed concern on the 365 license. He compared it to Arizona. The comparison he made with Arizona was that, gosh, if it worked right, I should be able to apply for deer and javelina at the same time or on the same license, but I couldn't. Actually, he could. What he described was actually the old system, so he had a little bit of misinformation on that. And there was one comment raised about possible concern about the Native American. Currently, those are free. However, the challenge we have with free licenses is we're not able to actually certify those licenses and certify those individuals so we can gain access. And so what we try to do is keep the fees small and provide them access to the stamps, which they would have to pay for anyways. So these are considerations. As I mentioned a month ago, our intent was to develop the recommendations. The price points, the concept was well supported by virtually everybody that we've talked with on this. I call these individuals critical stakeholders because in this case they are the most influenced. Harvest is still regulated. This isn't going to change. The fees the harvest, any fee change will influence the people who buy those licenses. And so for people who don't hunt, we're still very interested in their input, but for the people we really sought out their input on were the people that do hunt and fish, because this influences their pocketbook. And then questions on this topic? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wakeling. I do have one quick question that kind of came to mind there. If all of our hunting licenses are now going to include a Nevada duck stamp, is that going to affect how many duck stamps we need to be printing or having available for people that request them?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, if this were adopted as we've considered it so far, this would eliminate the Nevada state duck stamp. It would not change the federal duck stamp at all. And so it's still available through the post office or electronically. We're one of the few states that do. However, it's our intent to protect the funds, the various fund sources behind each of these stamps. And so throughout our considerations, what we intend to do is still provide the fund in essentially the same proportions as what it's been to date. We would still follow the same process that we use to date.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Wakeling from the commission? Commissioner Hubbs.
Yes, I did have a question in regard to the Human Dimension Survey. I know you stated that it must maintain confidentiality on that survey until it's released from the governor's office, correct?
The Human Dimension Survey is public. Lauren Chase actually attended the commission meeting in June and presented the results of that. Basically, it's our bill draft. The draft that we've submitted has to remain confidential. We can't disclose the details. Ultimately, through the process, the whole concept could be discounted entirely through the budget process. What we're interested at this point is that the process we've used and the considerations we developed, we're really interested in having the commission endorse that.
And then in regard to this survey, is this a survey that some of the public comment was speaking to yesterday?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hubbs, it is my understanding that that is not the one. The one that I heard referenced in public comment dealt specifically with the American Wildlife Values Survey. That's an independent survey. These surveys targeted hunters and anglers. That survey will target Nevadans across the board. It will not be limited to hunters and anglers.
Okay. And is that survey data lagging behind the June date that they alleged was proposed?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hubbs, that is correct. We have a federal aid grant that we are using to pay for and conduct that survey. We did have to request an extension on that, and that will be completed at a subsequent date.
Further commission comments or questions? Commissioner Drew?
Yeah, with the chairman's indulgence, I'm going to have a little bit of a rant here, and I've talked with Brian, I think, online and in person about this. But we're being asked to support a product and a process today. And as far as the product goes, I think everyone in the department and probably everyone who's attended one of these meetings know that I am completely behind the proposal that's before us, the concept, where we've gone so far in terms of process. But I'm not yet there on the full process, and here's why. And I understand this vote may go down 7 to Drew, and I'm fine with that. I'm glad that our new commissioners are here, because I lived through a time when I started here where the whole reason I'm on this commission is because I felt we had a breakdown in process based on some of the leadership of the commissions prior to my arrival, and some of us actually survived those days. But it baffles me that the presentation we just saw cannot go to the county advisory boards before our meeting. To the point where I understand the budget office has provided some sort of guidance on there and there may be some ambiguity. I'm willing to burn a lot of political capital to get that PowerPoint we just saw in the hands of our county advisory boards before I endorse the product or the process, even though I personally fully support the product. NRS dictates that we listen to public comment and county advisory board comment. I completely understand that we've seen this presentation, renditions of it or variations of it on 4 different occasions. But when we show a PowerPoint at a commission meeting, we're talking about at best 1/3, 1/5, or 1/7 of our county advisory board members. And so maybe I haven't been as clear as I need to be in my expectation as a commissioner as to what needs to go out as support material. But my expectation is there should almost never be an action item without support material. And in this case, it should have been that PowerPoint. And I'm willing to have those discussions to see if we can share this. So I'm not going to support the product and the process at this meeting. I'm willing to do that at next meeting if we can clarify what's going on here. But I have been appointed by a governor whose priority or one of their priorities is an open and transparent government. And so has everyone else on this. And I think I might be being oversensitive to this, but it's based on a not too distant memory of this process being on the verge of breaking down. And I don't want to go back there. I don't even want to sniff going back there. So that's my rant. It will cover this agenda item as well as agenda item 29, but that's where I stand personally.
Thank you, Commissioner Drew. Further commission comment? Commissioner McNinch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm afraid to follow him, Jeremy, too much on that, but not because of the point that he's trying to make. When I came back onto the commission, one of the things, and I'm talking to Jen and Stephanie in particular here, I promised open process, and so it's very important to me too, Commissioner Drew. It's one of the things that that was really lacking at the time, and even if there's a hint of that, I think that there's it's a proper time to step back. So I appreciate you expressing your concerns, and I'm certainly sensitive to the time frames and getting something done with this. But there's a couple of issues that are floating around out there. One has to do with getting stuff out to the public, and the other has to do with getting some clarification on to what extent we can do that. And so I'm willing to defer to the next meeting myself, and whatever that costs us. I think that there's a larger overarching issue here that we have to maintain trust where we can, and so I'm on board with that for what it's worth.
Vice Chairman Johnston.
I have a question. I mean, it was my understanding that the last time this was adjusted by the map was 2004, and that this proposal is geared to be revenue neutral. I guess I have a concern, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but anyone who's operating any type of business, which the department has costs, the cost of business is not going down and hasn't gone down over the last 12 years and will not go down for the foreseeable future looking forward. Is the department comfortable if you go license simplification that it should be revenue neutral, generating roughly $6.8 million, and that's going to be sufficient for the department to operate in the foreseeable future until you could go back and ask for increases? Because I don't want to go to license simplification now and then a year from now say, now we want to increase the prices, because I think that would be could be a bad perception from the public that they went simplification first and then to a price increase second. I just, if and I'm all for revenue neutral and keeping the costs where they are so people don't pay more for licenses and things of that nature, but I think you at least have to have the discussion that the department's comfortable with that.